What's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and as it is the first Friday of the month, you know what that means. It's time for a DM's Guild Roundup review. If you're unfamiliar with this, the first Friday of every month, I do a DM's Guild review of at least 3 products, usually on a varying different themes, with different kind of aspects to them, covering player stuff and DM stuff alike. I give you a review of them, and then I also provide a coupon code so you can get a little bit of a % off of them if you so choose. Now, I do want to say up front that while this video is sponsored by the DM's Guild, they don't provide any insight in what I choose, and I'm allowed to give a full review on whatever I like. Just so happens that I've been lucky enough to pick things so far that I've actually enjoyed. While I do comment if things seem a little out of power, overpowered, underpowered, or whatnot, I'm allowed to do with that as I will. Now, I do want to tell you 2 things. The DM's Guild Herald program is in the process of being rolled out. I did a video on this, but it's essentially a program to allow influencers to work with the DM's Guild. Now, I've had a pre-existing relationship with the DM's Guild ahead of time, but I will tell you up front that I am kind of in a hybrid mode, so I do have a coupon code that you can use all of the time now, but I have a more powerful, better coupon code that will come with these Roundup reviews. So if you use Herald Nerd 5 right now, you can get $5 off, 5% off $5 or more orders of digital community created DM's Guild content. So that's a thing you can use right now, but if you wait till the end of the video, I'll have a better coupon code that's 10% off $10 or more. You choose, but that only lasts for like a week or 2. So, all right, let's talk about what we're gonna look at today. We have 3 things, and dragons are all the rage. So I decided to do 2 dragon-related books that are kind of similar, and then something I really like that's a little bit different. So we have Worms of the Realms Mythic Encounters. You'll recognize some of these names here as well from folks we've worked with in the past. This came out on the 2nd of November, so only 3 days ago. It is already a best Electrum seller with 4.5 out of 5-star ratings, out of 5 ratings total. And it's mythic, it's basically what it says, Mythic Encounters. It is a whole bunch of very high level, very powerful, mythical dragon encounters that comes with mythical loot for those dragons and a bunch of other stuff. Very cool. Followed by that, we're going to do Bloodied and Bruised, the Monster Manual. Now, this is Anne Gregerson. We've done some Anne Gregerson content in the past, specifically Gesh's Guide to Making Things. This came out also on November 4th. November 2nd. And is a best silver seller at this point. I'm sorry, I misspoke before. Worms of the Realms came out on October 19th. It was updated on November 2nd. Bloodied and Bruised came out on the 2nd. It's already a best silver seller. This is a fantastic thing that adds an entirely new set of attacks and encounter mechanics to all monsters in the Monster Manual. This will basically I'm not going to say it's going to give you double the number of monsters, but it will make them all feel different, and if your players are used to it, definitely something you want to get. And lastly, we have Fizban's Vault of Draconic Secrets. This came out on October 25th and is a best Electrum seller. This one has more player-related content in the form of subclasses and things like that. So we have a lot to get through, so why don't we just go ahead and dive in. So here is, you can see Worms of the Realms right here. So you can see the first chapter. By the way, it does have bookmarks, so big point there. And it has a bunch of, if you're familiar with Forgotten Realms and other worlds of Dungeons & Dragons, large, powerful, specific dragons, we have a lot of them here, right? Like Arathator, Avriatures, we have Bahamut, Tiamat, Klauth, ones that I recognize, you may recognize as well. And for a variety of different colors of dragons, we have both gem, chromatic, and metallic, I should say all 3. And there is a steel dragon in here, as you can see, Jalan-Valas, which is a steel dragon, even though we know that technically, according to official 5th edition lore, steel dragons don't exist either way. So they are all mythic dragons with a ton of awesome abilities. Then we have rewards and boons. Blessings are basically like the DM's Guild, major rewards that you can, or not DM's Guild, the Dungeon Master's Guide, like epic rewards that you can give away. We have a bunch of spells. Then we have magic items, and these magic items are tied to and powerful enough to be things you'd get for killing a mythic dragon. So why don't we go ahead and look at that steel dragon here, Jalan-Valas. We can see right here. Here's some nice art. Also, different people made them. The artist's name is at the bottom. I love the art on this one. We have a whole bunch of roleplay information about this dragon. And then what happens, kind of here's some lair actions and things like that. But we can see multiple on different things, right? So on initiative count 20, roll a d3 and consult below. It's Act 1, Scene 2, so you've got a bunch of different things going on here. And here is the half-elven form of this female dragon. Challenge rating 13, and you can see here we've got a multi-attack with a rapier and the Shadow Blade spell. And it says, the Great Reveal is an ability. When it is reduced to 0 hit points, she does not die. Instead, she is forced into to reveal her true form, that of an adult steel dragon. She transforms into Jalen Velas the dragon, regaining all her hit points in all conditions, and ongoing effects are removed from her. She also has access to her mythic actions as long as she is in that form. As a reminder, mythic monsters and mythic actions are typically what I like to call them is the phase, the video game phase boss kind of a situation where you defeat them to a certain hit point, they lose, you phase the boss, and then it essentially will pop back up to full hit points or a number of hit points and enter its second form. And in this one, you start off fighting the humanoid half-elf, potentially, and then when she's dropped to 0 hit points, she will transform into the dragon. It gives you a little bit about running her as a mythic encounter, and it does give you a little bit here about the rewards as well, and suggests if you defeat her that you can reward them with the Magician's Cape or Jalen Velas's Notes on Magic. So we'll look at both of those when we get to the magic item section. And then here is her dragon stats. Now she's also a challenge rating 13, which is nice because it doesn't seem like it's too powerful, but when you think about it, you've essentially fought 2 challenge rating 13 creatures. So she has some spell casting listed at right here, and then we have multi-attack, bite, claw, tail, frightful presence, all pretty standard stuff for a dragon, but we have her breath weapon. She has a poison breath, a 50-foot cone, DC 17 con save, or 11d8 poison damage, or debilitating breath for 50-foot cone, DC 17 con save against poison, or have disadvantage on con saves for a minute. An affected creature can attempt a saving throw again at the end of each of its turn. She has some legendary actions, and then here's her mythic actions, which is she can cast a cantrip, or she can use her debilitating breath, even if it's not recharged. And then again, she does have some pretty she's got counterspell, a couple counterspells she can use, hold monster at will, so her spell casting is also pretty strong. And then again, I'll just flip through a couple. You can see some of the art is fantastic for these dragons. I absolutely love it. We have a variety of different kinds. We even have one that basically is a drow patriarch or matriarch. I don't know, a leader, an ancestor of drow. And then here we get into the rewards. As I was speaking, we can see here's a couple of these are the blessings and the boons, the supernatural gifts, if you will. There's not too many. Again, we now have draconic gifts that might be more suited to this, and then we have a bunch of different spells. You can see from 1st all the way up to 9th level. And there's a bunch of different who might have these spells. But let's go ahead, and I was gonna pick out of this one. Oh, there was one I wanted to show you guys. I don't remember what it was. Was it Sapphire Shield? No, it was like a force ball or something. Force barb. I think that was it. Yeah. A beam of light races from the caster's hand, widening to a 10-foot long cylinder with a 5-foot diameter. With a twisted tip at the end, the beam of light can pass through objects without harming them. If a creature is touched by the bulbous end, it must succeed on a con save or be paralyzed. It's just basically a barb. If a creature is touched by... Okay, it must succeed on a con save or be paralyzed, regardless of the result of the saving throw. It also must succeed on a dexterity saving throw or take 2d12 force damage. If the creature is benefiting from either the shield or the mage armor spell, both of those fail, or both those spells end immediately if the target fails their saving throw. So they don't fail, they just end. Paralyzed creatures can repeat their saving throw at the end of each of their turns, ending the effect on themselves on a success. Once the beam has affected 2 creatures, the light disappears and cannot affect any more creatures. Now, there's even a little call out to Faerun in here. But you can see there's a variety of different... Some of them are dragon-based, some of them are elemental-themed. If we move on from the spells to the magic items, we have a variety of them, and they also list the source here, right? So we had Magician's Cape was one we were going to look at, so we can use our bookmarks over here to skip to the Magician's Cape. This colorful, rare, requires attunement. This colorful cape looks like exactly something you might find on a scruffy street magician. While attuned to this cloak, you gain a +1 bonus to any saving throw you make in which you are not proficient. In addition, you also gain a new use for your movement. Instead of using your movement normally, you can expend all of your movement speed to teleport up to 15 feet in any direction, as long as your destination has room for you. When you teleport, all items you are currently wearing or carrying are teleported along with you. You can teleport a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. And then we also, here's Jalin Velocis and Lost Notes on Magic. It looks like it's a spell book. A rare requires attunement. When you first attune to this magic item and whenever you finish a long rest thereafter, you can choose a single first or second level spell. You can cast that spell once at its lowest possible level without expending a spell slot or material components, and regain the ability to do so after finishing a long rest. If you do not have spellcasting, use Intelligence as a spellcasting attribute. The spell chosen with the magic item cannot be transcribed to a spellbook, and when you choose a new spell, you lose the ability to cast the old one. Now, moving on, this is one I was at the end. Unfortunately, Bloody and Bruised, the monster manual, does not have bookmarks, so we're going to have to do a little bit of scrolling. But that's okay. So basically, you can see it's just a list of all of the different monsters in the monster manual. Now, it does talk about using the bloodied condition, which is something from 4th edition, which monsters would be considered bloodied when they were below half hit points. So you would let them know, I think you would even let the players know, hey, this guy is bloodied. So in here, what the Bloodied and Bruised situation is, they also go on to say that while you might use it, an ooze can't technically be bloodied because it doesn't have blood, the functionality is the same, whatever you choose to call it, bruised, battered, whatever. But what happens is all of these new monsters have been given new attacks or abilities, and some of them, as you can see, might say when they are first bloodied, some might be while they are bloodied. And then they also added death throws. Now, it mentions that some creatures have death throws abilities like the Baylor and Mephits. But basically, some of them have death throws, which are giving us something like when it dies, something happens to add a little bit more uniqueness and intrigue and possible danger to that. So it says, depending on the nature of the creature's death, the death throws might not activate. For instance, if the creature dies from fall damage, is obliterated by Disintegrate spell, or something else that might not trigger. So if we were to scroll down, you'll see that it just basically is a list of things to add. So I love Onkeg, so we got one right here. When an Onkeg is at 19 HP, it's considered bloodied. It gets the following abilities. Ability recharge, acid spray. When first bloodied, the Onkeg's acid spray ability is recharged. And frailty, while bloodied, the Onkeg's AC is lowered by 1. So in this instance, it doesn't actually give you any benefits. It's just things that happen to the Onkeg when it reaches that. So let's scroll down and pick something else. How about a Beholder, okay? Ability, legendary action. When a Beholder has 90 hit points, when first bloodied, the Beholder regains all expended uses of its legendary actions. That's pretty powerful, but it also gets new ability, Trained Eye. As a bonus action while bloodied, the Beholder can keep its eye on a character of its choice that it can see within 120 feet until the beginning of the Beholder's next turn. The Beholder keeps its central eye and thereby its anti-magic cone on the chosen creature throughout the round, turning its body as the creature moves and letting its gaze follow it. The Beholder can choose to end this ability as no action. When first bloodied, the Beholder can shoot one random magical eye ray as a reaction for the eye ray trigger ability. So let's pick some other stuff. I like Bullets, but it looks like they just got some like kind of similar things to the Onkegs. Let's scroll through and pick out, or scroll past the devils and the demons. Or how about a dragon? Dragons are all the rage. Let's grab, how about we grab an adult green dragon. Okay, when an adult green dragon reaches 103 hit points, it regains all uses of legendary actions, all expended uses. It gains its poison breath weapon, recharges, and it also gets a new ability called Fling. While bloodied, the dragon can replace one of its claw attacks with a fling attack, but only if it has just successfully hit a medium or smaller creature with a bite attack on the same turn. Then the creature the dragon just bit is thrown up to 30 feet in a direction of the dragon's choice, landing prone. If a thrown target strikes a solid surface, it takes a d6 bludgeoning damage for every 10 feet it was thrown. If the target is thrown at another creature, that creature must make a DC 17 dex save or take the same damage and be knocked prone. It also gets a new ability called Poison Cloud. While bloodied, tendrils of poisonous gas leak out of the dragon in a 5-foot radius from its body. When a creature first moves into the gas or ends its turn there, it takes d8 poison damage. And then cornered, when first bloodied, the dragon can use its reaction to make a claw attack against a creature within range. I absolutely love this module. This product is fantastic. This one is also labeled Bloodied and Bruised, the Monster Manual, which makes me think we might see future versions of this if they aren't already in the works to cover the other player resource books. And we can just kind of scroll down and see. Here's one for a ghost. How about a ghost, right? Ghost gets 22 HP. Its possession ability is recharged. Spirit Dash, when first bloodied, it can use its reaction to move up to its movement speed without provoking attacks of opportunity. And here, this one happens to have Death Throes, Death's Embrace. A cold wind gusts out from where the ghost was, engulfing everyone in a mournful embrace. Creatures within 10 feet of the ghost when it dies must succeed on a DC 13 Wisdom saving throw or gain 1 level of exhaustion. I think these are fantastic. I would love to implement these. They're maybe not for everybody, maybe not for new players just starting out, but you could definitely look at this and add these two monsters if you want to have a more impactful encounter. And lastly, we have Fizban's Vault of Draconic Secrets. This one also has bookmarks, as we can see, but this one has a lot more player-related stuff. So we do have a subclass for every class in the game, including the Artificer. We have 2 new backgrounds in the Dragon Hunter and Dragon Tamer. We have several, Kinetic Orb was from this book, that's what I was thinking of. We have spells in here, as well as a couple of feats, a bunch of new magic items, including Horde magic items, so that's stuff that's coming in. We got 3 new Horde magic items, as well as a series of Draconic Gifts. Again, another thing from Fizban's, we have some Dragon Trinkets, Dragon Lings, and a series of Adventure Hooks. So I think what I'll give you is the Saltwater Soul Sorcerer. I was interested to see how they would do this, because they already have the Draconic Sorcerer from the Player's Handbook. How are you going to come up with a new sorcerer? So for this one is the Saltwater Soul. So this is basically like a sea serpent kind of a dragon. And it says, gives you some options here. It could be sea serpent, merfolk, aboleth, whatever the case may be. Something from the ocean, and there might be a keepsake associated with it here. But you learn some new spells, and rightfully so. They follow the Tasha's Cauldron of Everything means of doing this, so they do get sorcerer spells 2 per every level, and if they want, whenever they gain a level, they can swap one out for anything on the sorcerer, warlock, or wizard list, as long as it is either of illusion or transmutation class. The spells they get access to are Armor of Agathis, Fog Cloud, Invisibility, Rhymes Blinding Ice from Fizban's, Tidal Wave, Water Breathing, Freedom of Movement, Greater Invisibility, Cone of Cold, and Teleportation Circle. They also get Aquatic Adaptations at level 1, a swim speed of 40 feet, the ability to breathe underwater, and what's really cool is the ability to move across any liquid surface as if it was solid ground. So they can always focus their chakra into the soles of their feet. Cold of the Depths, when you gain resistance to cold damage at level 6, and when you cast a spell that does cold damage, you add your charisma modifier to the first cold damage roll of that spell. Step Between Pools at 14th level. This is sort of a like tree stride or a transport via plants, but using pools of water. So if you're in a pool of water, you can use a bonus action to teleport 120 feet to another unoccupied pool of water, or you can use Teleportation Circle to go from one natural body of water that you're familiar with to another one, basically treating that familiar body of water as a unique sigil, whatever you want to call it, sigil sequence like you would need for Teleportation Circle. But when you use a body of water as your destination, the portal appears within 5 feet of a place that you have previously stood, or in the nearest unoccupied space. And then lastly, Oceanic Form at 18. You can spend, as a bonus action, 5 sorcery points to basically turn into a liquid. You're resistant to all damage except psychic, and you can squeeze through spaces of up to 1 inch. You can remain in that form for 1 minute. It ends early if you are incapacitated, if you die, or if you dismiss it as a bonus action. And I like that one. It's only limited to your sorcery points, so as long as you have them, you can do it. You don't have to worry about proficiency bonus times per long rest or not. Now, I did look through all of the other classes, the subclasses. I do think some of them suffer from giving a little too much and being a little too on the OP side. Not all of them, but there's a handful that I think definitely do. Or they add extra complexity that I don't think aligns fully with 5th edition, but I'll let you be the judge of that. I thought the Saltwater Soul was pretty well balanced overall. We have some new spells. Here was the one I was talking about from before, Kinetic Orb, which is a 2nd level evocation. You hurl a 6-inch diameter sphere of energy. Choose Force, Necrotic, Psychic, Radiant, or Thunder damage, and it takes 3d12 of that damage. It's essentially a different version of Chromatic Orb with different damage types and an improved damage. You have a handful of different feats, a bunch of different magic items that you can see here. But my favorite is probably the new Horde magic items, and I really like that they made... they have a Dragon Leather Tome, which is basically a Horde item spellbook. And then they also have a Slayer's Soul, which is a weapon. Doesn't have to be a sword. It can be any weapon or any. It doesn't have to be melee. It can be ranged as well. But they made the Ring of Dragon shape, which was one of my favorite items from the old Draconomicon. They made that a Horde magic item. So in its slumbering form, it gives you a +1 to Charisma saves and advantage on Intimidation checks. And you have advantage on Charisma checks with dragons. In stirring form, you have a swim speed of 40 feet. And as an action, you gain a fly speed equal to your walking speed for 10 minutes or until your concentration is broken, as if concentrating on a spell. And you can hover, but once you use that, you can't use it until the next dawn. The Awakened state, when you gain a flying speed, it lasts for 1 hour as opposed to 10 minutes. And you can transform into a young dragon of your choice, which lasts for an hour or until concentration is broken, again, as if concentrating, until the next dawn. And then lastly, at Ascendant, it now has 5 charges. You can expend a charge to gain a flying speed equal to your walking speed for 1 hour. And you get 1d4 +1 charges back at dawn. And as an action, you can transform into an adult dragon of your choice, which lasts for a minute or until your concentration is broken. Once you use this property, you can't use it again for 1 week. And then it gives you the statistics. You can just find those in the Monster Manual or in Fizzbands. Here we have some various Draconic gifts as well. I'll read you Elemental Control here. As a bonus action, each weapon attack you make deals 1d4 bonus damage until the end of your turn. The type of this damage is determined with the dragon that it's associated with, and you can use this gift a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus per long rest. Kind of seems to be inspired by the Chromatic Dragon feat from Fizzbands. We have a trinket table with 25 trinkets. 50 trinkets rather, and then dragonlings, which are just adorable, which I think are so funny. There's some lore there, but it's basically like a king was like, hey, turn me into a dragon. I want to be a dragon. It didn't work out. He's like, so fine, make me dragons that I can control. And as such, he made dragonlings, which are basically a pre-wormling stage dragon. So they are challenge rating 0 dragonlings, basically baby dragons. And it says, for every type of dragon, there are dragonlings. Well, they're not as powerful as dragons they resemble. They are the dragonlings that look like diminutive versions of chromatic, metallic, and gem dragons. It says, dragonlings share the habitat preferences of dragons they resemble, and they may move as solitary or be in groupings. And they do have a tiny little breath weapon that does almost no damage, but I love it. Just for the green dragonling, it is a DC 11 con save or take a D4 poison damage on a success, half on a fail, half on a success, with a bite that does a D4 -1. We can see the gold dragon has a similar version as well. And I just think they're adorable. They're not even immune to their own damage type. They're only resistant. I think they're adorable. I'd love to put them in my game. This might be like a fun pet shop in one given town or something like that. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I promised you at the end of the video I would give you a kind of my typical coupon code. So that is NERDVEMBER10. So that's NERDVEMBER 10, and that will get you 10% off a DM's Guild community created content purchase of $10 or more. However, that expires on the 12th of November, where the Herald the Nerd 5 coupon from the start, that will last indefinitely, so it's up to you. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you once again to the DM's Guild and these awesome creators for making these awesome products for me to review, and I will see you all next time.